The Church's greatest crises. When power, greed, and corruption shook Catholicism. For nearly 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has stood as one of the most powerful and influential institutions in human history. It has crowned kings, shaped empires, and guided the faith of billions. But just as power can inspire greatness, it can also lead to corruption, greed, and devastating missteps. The Church has faced many external threats, wars, revolutions, and political upheavals, but some of its most damaging moments have come from within. From popes who lived more like emperors than holy men, to massive betrayals that shattered trust, these are the events that nearly brought the Catholic Church to ruin. 1. The Avignon Papacy, 1309 to 1377, when the popes became political pawns. For over 1,000 years, Rome had been the heart of the Catholic Church. Then, in 1309, something unthinkable happened. Pope Clement V moved the papacy to Avignon, France, under the influence of the French monarchy. For the next 68 years, 7 popes ruled from Avignon instead of Rome, turning the papacy into a tool of French kings. While lavish palaces were built in Avignon, Rome fell into decay, and people across Europe began to question whether the pope was truly independent or just a puppet of the French crown. This era weakened the Church's authority and set the stage for an even bigger disaster, the Western Schism. 2. The Western Schism, 1378 to 1417, a church divided by 3 popes. Imagine being a devout Catholic in the late 1300s. You turn to the Pope as God's representative on earth, but suddenly there are 2, then 3 different popes, all claiming to be the true leader of the Church. This is exactly what happened after Pope Gregory XI moved the papacy back to Rome in 1377. When he died, Italian and French factions elected rival popes, Pope Urban VI in Rome and Pope Clement VII in Avignon. The chaos deepened in 1409 when a third pope, Pope Alexander V, was elected in Pisa. Instead of fixing the crisis, it made things worse. 3 different popes, 3 different factions, and a deeply divided church. It wasn't until the Council of Constance, 1417, that the schism finally ended, but the damage had been done. The world had seen that the papacy was just as political as it was spiritual. Third Pope, Alexander VI, 1492 to 1503. The corrupt Borgia Pope. If the Catholic Church had a most scandalous pope contest, Pope Alexander VI of Spain would be a strong contender. A member of the infamous Borgia family, he ruled more like a mafia boss than a religious leader. Alexander VI openly fathered children, hosted extravagant feasts, and used his power to enrich his family. He made his teenage son, Cesare Borgia, a cardinal and arranged political marriages for his children to strengthen the Borgia dynasty. Rome was filled with whispers of bribery, murder, and unchecked corruption. At a time when the Pope was supposed to be a moral guide, Alexander VI turned the Vatican into his personal kingdom, damaging the Church's reputation across Europe. 4th, Pope Leo X, 1513 to 1521, selling salvation for gold. If Alexander VI was known for corruption, Pope Leo X of Florence was infamous for his greed. The son of the powerful Medici family, Leo X needed money, lots of it, to finance the construction of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. His solution? Selling indulgences, special certificates that promised to reduce the punishment for sins. Under his rule, church officials traveled across Europe, preaching that people could buy their way into heaven. One salesman in Germany, Johann Tetzel, became famous for his slogan, "As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs." This blatant sale of salvation outraged many, including a German monk named Martin Luther. In 1517, Luther nailed his famous 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg, condemning the corruption of indulgences. What began as a protest soon became the Protestant Reformation, a movement that split Christianity into multiple denominations. Leo X's greed didn't just damage the church, it led to one of the greatest religious divisions in history. 5. The Galileo Affair, 1633. When the Church fought science. For centuries, the Catholic Church had been the center of learning, preserving ancient texts and supporting scholars. But in the 1600s, a battle between science and religious tradition erupted, and the Church made a decision that would haunt its reputation for centuries. The Italian scientist Galileo Galilei had proof that the Earth revolved around the Sun, a discovery that contradicted the Church's official stance that Earth was the center of the universe. Rather than accept the evidence, Church authorities put Galileo on trial for heresy in 1633. Under the threat of torture, he was forced to publicly deny his findings and was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. This event became a symbol of the Church's resistance to scientific progress. For centuries, critics pointed to Galileo's trial as proof that the Church valued tradition over truth. It wasn't until 1992, more than 350 years later, that Pope John Paul II officially admitted that Galileo had been right. 6. The 20th and 21st century scandals. The betrayal of trust. While past scandals involved political struggles and corruption, modern times revealed something even more painful: widespread abuse within the Church. Over the past few decades, reports surfaced in countries like Ireland, the United States, Australia, and France, detailing shocking cases of misconduct by clergy members. But what made the crisis worse was the cover-up. Instead of removing offenders, Church officials transferred them to different locations, allowing further harm to continue. When the full scale of the crisis was revealed, millions of Catholics around the world felt betrayed. Countries launched investigations, lawsuits followed, and in many places, Church attendance plummeted. Even today, new reports continue to emerge, making it one of the greatest crises in the history of Catholicism. A Church that endures. Despite these scandals, the Catholic Church has survived for nearly 2 millennia. It has endured wars, revolutions, and internal corruption, yet it remains one of the largest religious institutions in the world. These historical crises serve as reminders of what happens when power and greed overshadow faith. They also show that even the most sacred institutions are not immune to failure. Today, the Church continues to struggle with its past, but history proves one thing: while scandals may shake it, the faith of its followers has kept it standing. The question is, will future leaders learn from the past, or will history repeat itself? If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, there's so much more to explore. Subscribe to our channel for more eye-opening stories about religion, history, and powerful moments that shaped the world. Stay informed, stay curious, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.